are live, I believe. What a constant battle for me to figure out how to work Streamlabs. Okay, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Panicle, a podcast for geeks. My guest today is Kerry Drake, who knows enough about comic books, so he's going to talk to me this morning. We're going to talk about Black Panther for a minute, and then focus in on the DC Fandom stuff that came out last week. So, as we all know, we lost a hero yesterday, which is very unfortunate. I'm sad to hear about Chadwick. I feel like he really brought a lot of life into that character that people didn't expect him to bring in, because Black Panther is such a... he's historically a great character, but people, obviously Marvel wasn't really focusing in on a lot of characters of color to bring, and then they, initially they brought him in as a... I don't want to call him a side character, because when he was introduced in, what was it? It was an Avengers film, right? The second one?
Oh, in the movies, yeah. Yeah, it was Civil War, wasn't it?
Yeah, Civil War. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he makes his appearance at first, I know for a fact there are a bunch of people out there who are like, who the hell is this character, right?
Yeah.
But someone like myself who has been reading about, Black Panther's, he's a really great character in the series. He's an important figurehead in the whole universe. I was sitting there like, holy shit, and then I was like, please don't ruin this character,
Yeah. Oh God, I know.
They did a great job. I mean, and they picked a great actor to play him. He really nailed that role. He didn't focus in on, he was true to the character on his own, in his own spirit, I guess is the way to say
it. Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I read a little thing this morning. Of course, all my entire news feed was all Chadwick Boseman this morning, yeah. And one of the things said that he had to fight to use that accent. Not really? His own accent. That's just a little bit that I read. I'll have to drill down deeper on that to find out all the details. But I can totally see that. How movie studios always want to smooth everything over, make things as easy as possible because they think we're all a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
And so it sounds just from the little bit that I read, I got the idea that he had to kind of duke it out a little bit with some of the suits to keep that African accent. And in my opinion, that's an extremely important part of the character. Not so much the accent, but the idea that this is not an African American. This is an African character.
Right. Oops. I'm having a slight issue with the stream. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. We're good. Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize, how much of a deep dive he did on that character until I definitely did not realize that he had to fight for a voice on the character, which is really great to hear,
Yeah.
But
don't quote me on that. That's this is me scrolling through Instagram and stuff like that. But that's what I picked up.
But he was also he played so many great characters in the movies. He played Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, and I'm trying to remember there was one more, and they were all iconic characters, but I can't remember the third one now, which is stupid of me. But okay, but he really took the time to learn about every person he was playing, which is what's cool about him, and I mean the fact that he felt the need not to tell anyone that he was sick is a testament to his character. He didn't want to burden anybody.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. He didn't burden anybody with that, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking this morning, I'm like, his circle of trust is super tight because nobody talked about it. Not his doctors, not his nurse, not his family members, not his friends or the actors that are in the movies with him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dang, I could only hope that my circle of friends is that
for real
tight-lipped if I ask them to keep a secret,
Yeah, dude, I'd flip on you in a second.
Oh, thanks. Good to know. Make a note of that, people. He said it right here on the show. But I also, was trying to, I've been reading a lot of old comics since I've got the DC Universe app. Not DC Universe, wow. Marvel Universe app. and you can read like, so I had to look it up because I could not remember what issue of Fantastic Four was his first appearance. The character's first appearance is in Fantastic Four number 52. For anyone who has the app, it's there. You can read it. If you own the issue, Carrie, you're gonna blow my fucking mind.
I think I own. I don't know if it's that particular issue. I own a volume of like the best Marvel stories ever told,
Okay.
and there's a Fantastic Four story with the Black Panther in it, and that may be the same issue you're talking about.
I mean, the cover is like I don't know if I'm allowed
There's like
to
a giant red.
no, it's like I want to share the cover, but I'm not sure if Twitch will bounce me if we do that. But it's basically him like jumping over them. He's got the old school design where he's got the cape.
Yeah,
And then
and he's in a classic Kirby pose where he's like diving over them.
Yeah, he's like diving like this, and then
I'm pretty sure.
And then you've got like the Human Torch like zooming up to him, like I'll take care of this guy. And he obviously does not.
Yeah.
But even like an old version of that, it's like it's such a rare comic to find. I mean, I'm enjoying like I really enjoyed reading Black Panther stuff, comics, and the recent stuff too, because he's one of the what do they call them? There's a specific term for people that the Marvel people that have one of each of the Infinity Stones. Like, I want to say Illuminati, but that sounds too scary.
I don't think that's it.
But there's a group. It's basically Black Panther, excuse me, Doctor Strange, I believe it was Captain America, Namor, and I mean, there's 6 stones, right? So there's at least 2 people I'm missing here. But they were like the ones that were chosen for their like integrity and strength, and they wield one of the stones. They're in charge of protecting each of the stones. If you want to do a Google search, you can feel free to drop it in here.
Right.
But okay. But yeah, like I said, that's a loss, and people all over Twitter are, some people are just sad about losing this awesome actor in person, and then social media being social media, there's the other half who are talking about the second movie and who are they going to cast, and I don't really want to talk about it too much because I know enough about the comics to know what Marvel is doing already. Marvel's already hinted. Here's the one thing I will say. Marvel probably knew what was going to happen to him or happen to him eventually, like he would retire, because the second movie has already been, Chadwick himself has said that they're focusing on his sister, what's that character's name? Shuri?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I probably said her name wrong, I'm sorry. But it's focusing on her becoming the next Black Panther, and she does in the comic books, right? So, there were subtle hints, I guess, but who's keeping track of all that? But people are really like, don't make a second movie with him or whatever. I'm just like, everybody needs to calm down and not worry about that right now. But unless you have anything else to add to this part of the conversation, I'm going to move us forward into the DC fandom stuff.
The only thing I want to say about that is that he brought this character to life who was so important to so many people for a lot of reasons. There was, being a white kid, I could dress up like any character with the exception of 1 or 2, Falcon, Black Panther. Those are the only characters that I didn't already look like.
Right.
So it was awesome. It was awesome for me to see my other friends be able to step into a character that easily, because there aren't that many huge characters of color in comics. So I was just really glad that not only did Marvel have the guts to explore that character, but that they picked Chadwick Boseman, who took that character and elevated it to something really sublime.
No, that's a good point. I should have talked about that. But that is a good point. Yeah, he gave, because I remember when I saw it in the theater, there was a mixed bag of like, a lot of people were like, this is amazing. I finally get to see a superhero of color. And I felt the same way, right? Like, I remember I was in the theater the first day I saw it. There were people in there complaining about him being a person of color and being the lead. Like, literally, I got in an argument with people in the theater, right? They were just like, oh, I can't believe he's a lead character. I can't believe he's black and the lead character. And I was just like, what about all the other movies you guys got? Like, you already got your white heroes,
Oh,
you know? And I don't want to turn that into a topic here, but I'm just saying, like,
right.
it felt good for someone like myself, like, to see a character of color being the hero for once. Not to
Yeah.
say that, white heroes are bad. I mean, it's just, come on, man. Give us one or two.
There's, yeah, yeah.
you know?
We've already got a ton of them.
Yeah.
We're dripping in Caucasian. So we need to mix a little color in there, and
Yeah.
make this something for all of us.
And just seeing, like, the other angle, is like you see all these little kids who now have this extra boost of confidence to, like,
Yeah.
like, play these characters. Because you've seen the kids who, I've seen, like, kids of color trying to play, like, Spider-Man, and they got a hard time. And then Miles Morales came out, right? And you're like,
Right.
there's this, and people were mad about that. And it's just like,
Oh yeah.
those people are assholes. I'll just say it.
Yeah, that's the only explanation.
There's no other explanation for it. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
very very good point. We can definitely circle back to this if we think of something else. I'm more than open to keep. I don't want to you know keep talking about just Black Panther because I feel um, I'm still a little. I was a little sad yesterday when I heard about that because it's very rare that you see a person who's that you were like that's a good dude. He's a good dude in real life too.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of his interviews. He's nothing but genuine. There's an interview where he was like talking about kids who were dying of cancer, who couldn't
Right.
see the movie, right? And you're like, that dude is like that's he hit it well. He hit it well. I mean,
Yeah, man.
it's his prerogative. So, all right, well, let's move on to the next topic here, which is DC fandom, which I honestly did not know was happening until one of my friends messaged me in the morning and was like, "Yo, are you watching this DC fandom stuff?" And I was just like, "The hell is this DC fandom stuff? Like, what are you talking about?" And I have a friend
Right.
who I'm gonna have on the show someday soon. Um, she goes by Gotham Geek Girl, and she has her own podcast and stuff. So I saw a bunch of her. I saw a lot of the trailers because she was sharing a lot of stuff. And she posts everything she does is mainly comic book related. You can guess that by her name. But I don't know if you saw some of the trailers. You said, did you watch the Batman trailer? That's the one I really want to talk about.
That's the only one because you mentioned the other before we started recording. You mentioned a couple others. I was like, I need to go see this now. But I've only seen the Batman one.
So the Batman one, like people got mixed opinions about it, but which is obvious. That's gonna happen right off the bat. But I really enjoyed it because I was like, it felt, and I hope it does, but it felt like they were leaning into the detective side of Batman.
Yeah.
Which I kind of want to see more of. Like, you get hints of that in like if you remember Tim Burton's Batman, you kind of get a hint of that when he's like talking about the products that make up Joker's laughing gas.
Right.
And then you go into like the Nolan films, and you kind of get it when he's like testing the bullet. He's like running it through like whatever. But you kind of get a little bit of it when he's cutting out the bullet shape from the wall, but not like the true like old school Batman where he's like really like reading the crime scene and because that's where he gets his like skill set from the early. That's like his. Nolan didn't lean into that enough. Where it's like, dude, you're Batman year one. Like, give us a little more of his studies. That's not a good word for it, but
Right. Well, I mean, Batman, in my own opinion, I think Batman is kind of like a pop culture Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
He's supposed to be this brilliant mind who can put stuff together that nobody else can do. And we really haven't gotten a whole lot of that in the movies, and probably because that kind of stuff is got to be really hard to write because the author has to be able to put stuff together that nobody would, So I would like to see more of that, but I can understand why we haven't gotten.
I mean, I feel like some of the directors. That's true. Someone in the chat, Hangman's Girl. I'm not really sure who you are, but thanks for commenting. She said Nolan used Lucius Fox. Luscious Fox. Wow, I read that wrong. Lucius Fox and Alfred as the detective aspects, and that is true. He did.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I just wanted to see more of like, if you read Batman Year One or Batman Year Two, like I wanted to see him in there like analyzing the scene and like pulling it apart, like you said. Sherlock Holmes is a great example of how they did that back in the day, because that's the old school Batman. That's who he was. Then he went and solved the
Yeah.
crime, right? Like
Right.
he had to get through the mystery aspect of it all. But I understand why directors don't do that, because people can't keep up with that sometimes and just don't care. They
Yeah.
just want to see, because we got our very first version of Batman live, minus the Adam West stuff.
Come on now.
Hey man, I grew up on that stuff. I love it. We can talk about that in a second. Oh, it's
All
Emily.
right.
Hey
All
Emily. Our very first version was the Tim Burton one, where he literally was like, he was an older Batman. He wasn't a young Batman,
Yeah.
and he's already out of the gate just kicking people's butts. And now we're gonna get
Right.
this Batman that's gonna like, he's gonna get his butt handed to him a couple of times because he has to, right?
Yeah.
That's how he learns. So that trailer was, and I don't know, like I also liked how the Riddler, had I'm guessing that character was a Riddler with the goggles and the green jacket on.
Has to be. Has to be.
I was like, oh, good. Hopefully they don't put him in a suit and a top hat, or what's not a top hat, a bowler hat, which is a cool way for that character. Yeah, I mean that character shows up like that in the comic books, and it's cool because you're used to him, right?
Right.
But you don't need to see a real live person would not show up like that.
Right. And that's the thing about these live action movies. They are taking these comic book ideas, but they're putting them into a real world context, which is why Batman isn't running around in underwear. He's running around in armor. That's why the bad guy, like, hopefully he doesn't show up in Jim Carrey's green spandex, and we do get a more believable character.
I mean, yeah, I'm hopeful. I mean, and then the secondary character was a penguin. You saw that guy that was like standing in the rain. That was apparently oh crap. What's his name? Colin Farrell.
Cobblepot, Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah, but that actor was Colin Farrell. I'm like, that's a lot of makeup.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so the rumor is that's supposed to be the penguin, and I was like, okay, that's a cool looking penguin. He doesn't look like the Tim Burton penguin was pretty scary. I remember when I saw that in the theater and he's showing you his flippers, and I'm just like, nope, I'm good, But that's Tim Burton, right? He leans into that like extra scary angle. But there's a rumor, and I don't know if you noticed it in the trailer, but the Court of Owls is the main villain in this movie. When he's reading the card from the Riddler, there's a little thing in the corner that shows an owl, and people are. Oh, I also feel like the Riddler, the director is purposely doing that just to throw you off, like, or say these characters exist. Did you ever see the Gotham's Penguin? No. Is that an anime or a cartoon? Anime.
I think that's referring to the TV show Gotham.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that actor was pretty good. I actually met that dude at a show. He's a really nice guy. He's really like cool with his fans. He'll sit down and talk to everybody and hang out and stuff. So,
right. That's awesome.
I didn't watch too much of Gotham. I watched the first 2 seasons, and I didn't like how they were introducing the Rogues Gallery too quickly, because a lot of them don't show up till Batman's Batman. But they were already introducing like all his, which is whatever. I get it. It's a TV show, so they're gonna do whatever they want. But I think that I'm trying to figure out. I think they said they might tie in a lot of stuff from. Definitely not tying in any of the new current Snyder stuff into this new Batman movie. But there was a movie that was going to link to it. But speaking of the Snyder stuff, so the other trailer was Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, which just looked like a darker version of the other one. And I feel like, I don't know, I'm half and half on Snyder's films. Like, I know he's trying to go for this dark angle with like the characters, whereas Marvel goes the other way, right? It's kind of like
Yeah.
adventure and humor in there. And DC can't
Yeah.
do that because we're not used to that from DC. Um,
Yeah.
and that's why Justice League 1, with the Joss Whedon version, didn't work. Like, you can't bring that snarkiness from the Marvel stuff over to DC. People aren't used to it.
Yeah. You think that was kind of what they were trying to do with Shazam?
Yeah, but they didn't like force feed it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that movie to be honest with you. It had some good moments, but it felt to me like they were saying, well, what if we try this kind of funny thing that Marvel's doing over there?
Right.
And I don't know, like it didn't work for me.
I mean, I think, yeah, I could see what you're saying, and that's what I'm trying to, It's hard for people to, and the problem is Shazam's supposed to be, I don't know, he's supposed to be a light-hearted character. He's a pretty serious character to a degree,
Mm,
but DC tried that and it's not working for them. So now they're going back the other way again. They're like, let's bring out the
yeah,
dark movies because people really like Superman, right? Because you see this his the dark side would be all the shit he has to go through essentially. Like, you literally see Jonathan Kent get sucked up by a tornado,
yeah,
um and you see him save a bunch of kids in a bus that's underwater and dying, like those are like kind of scarier situations. And then he's got to, like, and they destroyed Metropolis. It wasn't like, let's just fight here and call it a day. Like, they eradicated that city, and I'm just like, yo,
yeah,
take this fight somewhere else. But
yeah, for real.
then you have the second movie with Superman versus Batman, which I thought was pretty cool. The Batman sequences were fucking amazing, and apparently Affleck is back. I mean, you got opinions about this. I can see it on your face. Um, um,
I just went Stonewall.
well, I didn't think it was the greatest movie in the world, but the Batman sequences I really like. Like when he's like, you see, like, like, that's a Frank Miller Batman. That's the
It is.
gritty. I'm gonna just kill you. I ain't got time to put you in an Arkham.
Yeah,
You know.
and I'll be honest with you, there was some stuff in there that let's find out if you bleed. That where they were really putting Frank Miller Batman really hard, and that kicked ass. And I'll make no bones about that. But there's other things, man, because like the Batman I grew up with, I know not the original Batman used guns, like
Yes.
old, like we're talking
Mm-hmm.
1940s Batman.
Yeah.
He carried guns, but at some point he said no more guns.
Right.
Then we, flash cut to Snyder's Batman, and he's straight up just murdering just random people, blowing cars all over the place. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is not my Batman
Right.
who tries to avoid collateral damage. This is a guy who's, I mean, all he was trying to do was kill the fuck out of Superman because Superman destroyed Metropolis.
He thought well, in his eyes, Superman was a threat, and he stops
Yeah,
threats.
right,
Um,
right.
but
And,
like,
and I got that. It was just I didn't buy that response from Batman.
right. I mean, like I said, it was whatchamacallit. It was like that Frank Miller angle, and for people who have never read Frank Miller's Dark Knight, that version of Batman is super hard to take in. You're
Yeah.
like, what's happening right now? This dude's like that whole sequence of the Batmobile. He like rolled like at least 20 dudes died right there, and then
Yeah.
the scene in the warehouse, he wrecked like another 20 dudes, and I
Hmm.
was watching that whole sequence like, holy crap, this is the Batman I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Like that's the Batman I grew up reading, right? Like he didn't have
Yeah.
the guns, and I grew up reading a lot of
Right.
like the Neil Adams Batman, where he just like he would
Mm.
kick your butt, but he
Yeah.
would
Right.
drag you to Arkham afterwards. But then I remember when I first read Frank Miller's Dark Knight, I was like, this is a Batman that's done with the system, like.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting there, right? He's a Batman who's like, I've been following the rules. You dudes keep dropping the ball, and I'm done. Like, literally, if you read Dark Knight, remember, doesn't he kill the Joker? He like kills him in an alley, right? Or gets him pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Or he kills him. He kills him, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but like I said, he's done.
A long
And
time since I read it.
and that's kind of what they're trying to do there. But then they bring in Justice League, and Whedon just didn't. I mean, I feel for Snyder. He had to leave the project, but they brought in Whedon, and he
Yeah.
just dropped the ball. And I'm glad Snyder's coming back because I feel like his version won't be this is the best version of this movie, but it'll be better than the version we were stuck with.
Yeah, yeah, and to that point, the version that we got in the theaters was a version that was it was part this guy, part that guy, like what you were talking about,
Yes.
part Snyder, part Whedon, and it's because Snyder had some tragedy in his life, and that was the reason for that. So it will be nice to get a more cohesive version, to get a more singular kind
Yeah.
of Snyder vision, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that one.
Dude, so they said first they released a trailer which shows a lot. It's really like the main focus is Cyborg, which I'm
Yeah,
not seeing that 100%, but cool if you can pull it off because he's actually a
right,
cool character with a lot of backstory.
right.
But then there's also I think the secondary main character is supposed to be the Flash because he's gonna do because the idea is to push it towards a Flash movie, which
Mm-hmm.
which is another um, thing they spoke about at DC Fandom, and they showed images because he's gonna like
Mm-hmm.
he's not time hopping, he's uh, dimension hopping because there's a photo
Yeah.
of him kneeling. I think he's fighting somebody, and behind him is a Batman with his dukes up, and he looks like Michael Keaton's Batman. So the
Yeah.
rumor is Michael Keaton's Batman shows up in one of these dimension hops, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And also they said that the whole Snyder cut is 4 hours long, and you can watch
I'm
it in
on
all
board.
4 hours at once if you want, or they're gonna release it, or you're gonna watch in 4 hour chunks, obviously, or sorry, 1 hour chunks. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm all for that. A 4 hour
Yeah.
comic book movie, like how crazy can that be? I'm
Yeah.
I'm I can't imagine it being that long, but if I get to see a bunch of Batman running around kicking butt in the middle of that and doing some detective work, I'm in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
What was the
I
other?
mean, I was on board when Dune released a 4 hour cut. I was on board for all the extended cuts for Lord of the Rings. So yeah, hell yeah, I'm on
There's a
board for a 4
4 hour
hour
version of
Snyder cut.
Dune.
Yes.
The old one?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
I don't know if I could sit
Oh
through
yeah.
that.
It's
Maybe.
good, man. It's a little different. Some of the music's different. The narration is different. It's weird, but it's good.
Okay. Um, I mean, I'll look that up later. The other trailer kind of that's released was Black Adam. And I don't know if you know Black Adam with The Rock. They didn't really release a trailer. It was more like a
Yeah.
moving comic strip, I guess.
Mm.
I don't know a lot about the Black Adam character other than he kind of has the same abilities as Shazam.
Right.
He says the same trigger word, magic word that brings about his abilities. He seems to be a bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm about where you are. I don't know
So
much about the character. I knew The Rock was going to play him. That's all I knew.
yeah, and I
And
was like, okay, The
character
Rock's
looks
playing a
cool as
bad
hell.
guy. Cool.
Yeah.
I can't really talk about Black Adam as much because I don't know enough about the character to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
I will admit I was silently hoping they would show like a Hawkman trailer, like because there were
Oh, my
rumors of a
God.
Hawkman movie, but I don't know how you can do it right unless you literally drop them in what's it Thangar, right?
Yeah.
That's where it's from.
Thanagar.
Yeah,
I want to say
like
this.
you'd have to
Yeah,
drop them in their
Thanagar.
home planet to give you a backstory to then bring him to. Well, I mean, I guess you could bring him to Earth and then flash back, but
Yeah. Yeah.
he says one of those characters that's like, how do you show a giant Birdman, you know, and
Yeah.
and make him cool, like
Yeah. Yeah. Do you make him just like a humanoid guy that puts on a hawk helmet
I
and
mean that
hawk
stuff's basically
jetpack or
armor,
whatever?
right? All the stuff he's
Yeah.
wearing is
Exactly.
armor.
Exactly. I think he can take all the hawk stuff off and just look like a dude. But
Yeah, I don't think the
you
wings are built
you
into
remember
him.
what Alex Ross did with him?
Oh
I thought
yeah.
that was it's way different. He's like some Egyptian god
Yes.
descendant or something in his version, but he's like literally a Hawkman.
I thought I thought Ross's version was an evolution. All his characters were an evolution. Remember the Flash couldn't
Yeah, yeah.
he was constantly blurry because he was constantly moving like everywhere.
I got to say I loved his Flash.
Yeah, I was just like that dude has got to be tired. Like because the Flash has to like literally stop and eat every he's got to eat like a ton of food every X, otherwise he just
Right.
craps out. Because
Yeah.
he metabolizes it so fast. And this version was
Yeah.
like pure energy. Like he had evolved
Yeah.
into that.
Exactly.
Every character in the we're gonna talk Kingdom Come for a second here. Every character in there was an evolution of those characters. Like Superman was an older but still powerful version. Like Batman
Yeah.
was broken basically mainly because of age, or somewhere along the way the
Right.
battles finally took its toll, and he
Oh
built a
yeah.
bunch
Yeah.
of like mechs to go around and do his jobs, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then I can't remember what he did with Aquaman, which I feel bad saying because Aquaman is cool. Cool. I'm gonna say it. He's actually not a bad character, but people like I'll jokingly hate on Aquaman, but he's actually a pretty cool. I mean, if you can cut off your own hand and then replace it with a hook, and then keep fighting,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
badass.
Pretty badass.
What
Yeah.
did he do with Aquaman? Why can't I remember?
I'm trying to remember what he did with Aquaman. Now that you say it, Aquaman I think was very similar. No, I don't even want to say it, man.
I'm looking up images.
Now
Oh, he just made him the classic.
the Super Friends Aquaman, right?
Yeah, the Super Friends Aquaman. Yeah, Super
Yeah, that's what I
Friends.
thought. But I mean, that's kind of how I think of him.
Oh man, I miss Super Friends.
I do too, man.
I used to love that show. I mean, that was one of my. That's the time period where you're willing to accept like Aquaman would ride on like two dolphins, like he would just stand on them, and then they would. I'm like, yo, you can swim, dude. You lazy, like why are you riding on the backs of dolphins? But Wonder Twins were my favorite on that, by the way. And there's a rumor that there's a Wonder
Uh,
Twins movie, but I think it's gonna be a show. It's part of the DC. What's it called? The DC Network or the DC? So like, I was talking about the Marvel Universe app earlier, which
mm,
if anyone wants to read comic books and doesn't want to go to the store or don't like, I don't have room for more books right now. The Marvel Universe app is great. I'm not an affiliate of it, so I'm not plugging it for any money. But you literally, it's like $70 for the year, and you can get all the comics Marvel puts out. The newer stuff, you have to wait 2 weeks before you can see it. That's just their, because they got to scan it and put it in or something. DC now finally has something similar, but the bonus with being on DC is you also get the shows like uh, what is it, Young Justice? There's like no Teen Titans. There's that real like gritty. I don't know if you've seen it. You haven't seen any of the shows.
okay.
You mentioned this earlier. There's
Oh
a
no,
serious.
yeah.
There's a serious Teen Titan. Well, serious for DC version of Teen Titans on there, and there's a couple DC shows like Stargirl, I think. There's at least 5, and you get those as part of all the comics you can read too. And I think they're enticing you that way because they don't have all their comics signed. Like you can't read like I don't think like first appearance of Batman is in there yet. Stuff like that.
Mm,
Whereas Marvel,
mm,
I can read amazing. What's it called? Amazing Stories. First
mm.
appearance of Spider-Man. Like it's there. Emily saying Teen Titans is amazing. Maybe I'll see. I'm half and half on DC shows. I used to love Arrow when it first came out, but it just kind of spiraled into something I didn't like, and I felt the same way about the Flash. Like those shows had a lot of potential. Original one was Teen Titans was not. Teen Titans Go.
Yeah. So
Is that a
what they're
live
talking
action?
about is there was the Teen Titans cartoon. Then they did like you remember how every now and then in Teen Titans, I don't know if you watched that show, but every now and then on the Teen Titans cartoon they would get like super duper chibi, like the big head, the big eyes, the
Oh,
little
okay.
drop on the head. Well, Teen Titans Go is all that. It's
Okay.
like completely like, well, I shouldn't say completely, but it leans way more into that super kind of anime manga
Got
type
it.
feel. I love the original Teen Titans. I think that was a badass show. Teen Titans Go, I couldn't. It just wasn't. It wasn't made for me. So
Yeah, it's this person in chat saying also in Go they all feel the same, no real personality. Original Titans
mm,
had Deathstroke. Yeah, you're talking about the original cartoon. I
yeah,
actually
dude.
watched some of that. It was
Yeah,
cool. It was dark.
yeah,
It
that was a
felt a little
badass.
darker too, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
hmm
yeah.
this
And,
is
and
like.
when Slade,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
when any episode with Slade in it was my favorite episode. All of the Slade episodes were my favorite episodes.
Well, Deathstroke's a great character. They don't utilize him enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in. There was just like I just remember there was a is it Arkham Knight trailer with Deathstroke where Batman's fighting him and it's all CG, right? but it's so good. It's like him and Deathstroke just duking it out. It's the one where all the
Mm.
villains are hunting him down, right? And I thought, why not make a whole CG movie with this technology? Like,
Yeah.
it would be amazing. They could not
Yeah.
name Deathstroke, so Slade. Oh, they couldn't call him Deathstroke. I wonder if it's because somebody owns the rights to that. That's the same reason. And if you watch uh, Age of Ultron and any X-Men movie, like in Age of Ultron, you've got Quicksilver and you've got Wanda, Scarlet
Mm.
Witch, and they don't call them Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch, or tell you that they're children of Magneto because
Right.
that's an in between, and that's why Fox can use them and they can use them because there's this in between copyright contract, and it's just
Yeah.
like, I'm glad Marvel has it
Yeah.
all now, or Disney, I guess. I'm not so happy about Disney owning it all, but I feel like they'll at least give it some justice somewhere along the lines. I mean, I don't like the fact that they killed Quicksilver, but um,
I would say
DC.
Fox's Quicksilver is infinitely better than Disney's Quicksilver. Unfortunately, he was only really put to good use in Days of Future Past. That's my hot take.
You think he was only good in Days of the Future Past? Is that what you said?
I said he was only put to good use in Days
Oh,
of Future Past.
where he's running around the mansion collecting everybody? Yeah.
Well, not the mansion, but in that. No. It's just the scene where he's. They're going to. They're breaking out Magneto, right? Yeah, they're breaking
Oh,
Magneto out of the
I
plastic
get you.
prison, and he puts in earbuds.
Yeah,
in
he runs around the
70s,
kitchen basically. Yeah.
In the 70s, putting in earbuds that he should have had big foam ear pads with a metal band, whatever. And then he runs around and pushes the bullets out of the way. That scene was immaculate.
The holding cell.
Unfortunately, they have not been able to match that scene since then. But
I just I don't want to. We'll do another whole thing about X-Men later.
Okay, yeah.
I have thoughts about
very little to do
X-Men.
with Batman.
Yeah. If anyone has any opinions too, like I've been trying to like figure out if I want to focus this show mainly on comic books and video games and stuff. I purposely am focusing it on geek culture because I feel like I can like go broad with what I want to talk about. But I'm finding it's easier if I kind of bring it back down. Comic books seems to be the thing everyone could talk about. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about X-Men's the '90s cartoon for sure. Maybe we'll do that next week, man, because people really like to talk about comic books. So I just need to hone in on. I just need to like bring it down to who wants to talk. Because like I reached out to a bunch of people about talking about comic books and movies today, and a lot of them were like, I don't know enough about comic books. I'm like, yeah, but you've seen the movies. That's all I really need. I just need an opinion. I'm not looking for you to be an expert on the subject because I definitely read comics. I definitely watch everything, but I would not call myself an expert. I would definitely call myself a geek. So, but moving on to the DC stuff, the other stuff they show was a trailer for Suicide Squad and a game called Gotham Knights, which both look really good. I'm not a huge fan of Suicide Squad stuff, but it's very humorous to me and it's fun to watch. The movie, there's a reboot, which I hope is better because James Gunn is doing it. But the first movie was, I'm going to use the word horrible, which is a really nice word to describe it. Animated Suicide Squad was so much better than live action manure. Wow. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I remember my friend had told me, like, I was like, the first time I saw that movie, I remember I was like, oh, Suicide Squad's on whatever, Amazon or Netflix. I think I'll give it a whirl. And he's like, no, man, it's not worth it. And I was just like, how bad can it be? He's like, a kick in the nuts would feel better than how you're going to feel after you watch that movie. And I was just like, really? And I watched it and, it had its moments.
Yeah.
I was expecting anything cool. Like the Batman stuff, I was like, cool, there's Batman, he's in here. And I liked Harley Quinn, and I liked what's the name of the dude who had the fire and he could become the giant like Mayan god?
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
Um,
I know who you're talking about,
but like the trailer for the game looks cool. Like Emily's saying at King Shark, and yeah, it was fun to watch. That trailer looked great. I would like to see some gameplay for it. And I'm hoping the James Gunn version is good. he seems to have a decent cast again, and um, they did a great job with Birds of Prey. So I'm hoping like they bring kind of that energy back into the new Suicide Squad. Is it a reboot? I can't tell. The new one, or is it part two?
Hmm.
Um, but the Gotham Knights game um, is looks fun if you want to. It kind of looks like an open world. Apparently, Batman is dead, and his knights take over. So you got like Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, and Red Hood. Um, the trailer looked great. And the gameplay looks fun. Only thing I didn't like was they got these like glowing weapons that they're running around with, and I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, these guys are about stealth. Um, they're not gonna have glowing batons and glowing. I
Yeah.
forget the weapon that she uses. They all had some form of glow. I'm like, how are you gonna sneak on people if you got light sticks attached to you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. These are creatures of the shadows. They don't need to
yeah,
have, you know.
but so give those a whirl when you get a chance because I think you will definitely enjoy those because you also game. Um, but they'll so let's just to wrap this up because we've been going about 40 minutes here. Next week, I guess we can talk about X-Men if anybody wants to watch next week. It sounds like people want to talk about X-Men. Um, um, it's a game for millennial. Oh, come on. Has to be um, I don't know who Mad Juro is, but you're dropping some truth in the chat here. Said it's a game for millennial console peasants. I mean, you got to give people some fun games once in a while. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just for millennials, but it has to be shiny. Sure. I mean, people like. I personally will probably play it. I didn't, like I said, I did not enjoy some aspects of what I saw, but it could be a fun game to play. Like I love playing like The Witcher, but there's parts of it where I'm like, this could be better. Like, what are you gonna do? Maybe get it right the next time. Um, I'll buy it once it's 80% off. Cool. I don't even know what system it's coming out on. I didn't check that part. Um, but so what I was gonna say was also like yeah. Lastly, was that I'm a roundabout back to that Batman trailer again because I'm trying to think of like they were showing all these little. I watched a whole um, thing on Easter eggs you probably missed, and there's a ton in there, like little hints to like the Batman universe, along with that hints that he is in his second year of training, um, and like stuff about the Batcave and all that. And there's one or two trailers like that on YouTube, but the one you guys should definitely watch if you haven't seen it is the panel with Matt Reeves, who's the director of Batman. It's about 25 minutes long, and it's where he's introducing the trailer and he's talking to you about the movie and the things that inspired him. And the dude really did his homework, which is he didn't just come in there and be like, "It's Batman. I'm gonna film a Batman movie." He's Bruce Wayne and he's a billionaire, and blah blah blah. He actually did a deep dive on the philosophy of being Batman, because like to be that, if that person was a real person, you're in a dark headspace
Yeah.
all day. You're not like happy go lucky on a podcast talking to your friends, or
Right.
hanging out at the beach and all that shit. You're literally like that's your job 24/7, and
Right.
he um wow. I don't know who this guy said. This guy said as long as he farts less than he did in that Lighthouse movie with William Dafoe. Great. Um, I haven't seen that movie. I heard it was pretty good. I don't have anything personal against Pattinson. He looks cool. The only thing I had an issue with was there were some rumors a couple weeks ago or about a month and a half ago where it said he's not working out still for his role, and you're just like, yo, you don't have to be physically in peak condition. I'm not asking you to show up like fucking Ben Affleck did, because that dude was pretty built in his role. But at least don't be fat. Like it's okay. I'm not gonna YouTube the top 5 farts, man. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, like he's a strange actor, so he's probably just like, well, I'm not filming, and we're in a pandemic, so I'm gonna eat this bucket of chicken, or whatever. Like, knock yourself out, man. Cool. Just bring it back on board, because what you saw in that trailer, it's not done. That's just scenes they've shot involving inside shots, I guess, and none of the outside shots are done yet. So there's more there. Oh, let's just quickly talk about the Batmobile too. The emo eyeshadow. Come on, man. That's Batman wears that under his cowl. That's how he wears his covers his eyes. That's a known thing, and people are all uppity about seeing it for the first time.
And that, I mean, we see it in the Burton films all the way back then.
Every Batman does that.
Yeah.
It's how his eyes are not tight like in the comic books. They're not white, so they have to do that. Sorry, dude, I'm not giving you that one. But yeah, so okay, so let's wrap this up. Go watch those trailers. I'd be more than happy to get some comments about it in the video once this thing pushes to YouTube, because I'm curious what people thought about it. I know a lot of people are half in and half out. But the game trailers, I'm hoping to see more. Like I said, for the Suicide Squad, I'd like to see some gameplay. And then next week, let's figure it out. Maybe we can talk about either X-Men. I kind of want to do a talk about X-Men, and I kind of want to do a talk about, you and I were talking about McFarlane and Jim Lee and a bunch of like artists who eventually become Image Comics. So maybe that's a talk we can do too, Image Comics. But
that's a good one. So we'll need to rewatch that documentary.
Dude, I watched this documentary. I'll do a quick side note, and I'll bring it up again on the X-Men talk. But on Amazon, there's a documentary on Chris Claremont, which is really good. It's about an hour and a half long, and if you have Prime, it's there. It's free. It's worth watching. So, all right, I'm gonna say bye and take us off live here. Off live. Take us out of the show. I don't know how to say end the stream. That's the way to say it.
There you
go. Thanks, Carrie, for joining me this morning, because otherwise I had to do this by myself. Thanks for anyone watching in the chat, commenting. Mad Churro has a lot to say, it's pretty funny. All right, guys, I'm going to take us off. Carrie, give me a second here. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys tune in next week. I will try not to skip a week again.